So I'm delighted to be joined today by Anne Sawbridge from Jordan's, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Jordan's Farm Partnership.
What the Jordan's Farm Partnership is, it's really a convening of the right experts and specialists to help our farmers put together tailored plans to have to be rich, wildlife rich habitats alongside their farming.
It seems like such a good initiative to think about nature-friendly farming and possibly climate-friendly farming as well, because I mean, as you know very well, almost 70% of the UK's land area is agricultural land, and agriculture has a hugely critical role in tackling the climate crisis. And can you say a little bit about if you were walking onto a Jordan's farm or an oat grower who supplies oats to Jordan's, what sort of things might you see? So obviously we talk about nature-friendly farming, but can you give us a sense of what that looks like on the ground?
Yes, absolutely. I think the first thing about it is, well, first of all, you're going to find very progressive farmers, very passionate about sustainable farming, who are really trying to integrate the best of modern technologies and traditional methods to increase productivity while still achieving wildlife rich and friendly habitats. And I think that's the most important thing, is about this farming and nature in harmony. What the approach we're taking is within the partnership is kind of a holistic approach, because we have the Wildlife Trust, we have LEAF, we have the Prince's Countryside Fund, and all our farms meet the Countryside Stewardship Scheme higher tier provision of habitats for pollinators and wild birds. So to bring that alive a bit, what does that mean? I mean, it means that you would see hedgerows, field margins, waterways, ponds, all managed to enable wildlife to thrive alongside the fields of the oats that are grown for our cereals. So for instance, in summer, and I was on at one of the farms, and it was, absolutely fantastic. I mean, you see these large banks of colourful wildflowers, rows of, wild looking hedges, and in normally also some areas set to woodland. And I think, the wildflowers are especially important, and I suppose we know all that, but for maintaining our pollinator community, and the pollinators, the bees and the butterflies, are really vital to creating the habitats and the ecosystems for many other animals who also rely on these. And, these pollinators are also essential for our oat crops. In fact, 75% of the world's crops that feed that feed us humans, are also reliant on animal pollination, and these insects provide the majority of that service, which is why we're so keen to be part of keeping that alive. And I think in addition, you'll also see these wildlife corridors. So the Jordan's farms also help to create those corridors to help the species, move more easily across the countryside, when the weather gets warm. And, these corridors are essential for all sorts of wildlife. And I think the great news, and one of the things that you do see, and I've heard from the farmers, is that, they've seen the return of some species of birds that they haven't seen for many years. And, that's the real result. So, that's the sort of thing that you would see in terms of the environment, the nature side of the environment. In terms of, the other elements, we're now also looking at ways that we can work with our farmers to help trap carbon in the soil and reduce the use of nitrogen fertilizers. So at the moment, we're running some field trials that are actually planting oats directly into clover, and that's because clover traps nitrogen in the soil instead of using fertilizers. So I suppose overall, what you would see, is a partnership which is focused on supporting our farmers to find new ways to grow crops that have less impact on the environment, in fact, have a positive impact on biodiversity. And, lots of people are looking at this now. It's a very exciting area. And I think, certainly with some of the results we're seeing, there's a real sense of possibility about it. And just to bring the results alive, because I do want to mention that, is that we're managing to, with the partnership, and the thing about the partnership is that with the Wildlife Trust in particular, we're able to tailor make specific plans to our farms, because the wildlife advisors have that local, county knowledge. And I think that's making a big difference. And with that, over 6 years, we set out to achieve the LEAF mark standard of 10% of land given over to wildlife habitats. Actually, we're achieving 17% of our land given over to wildlife habitats, and that's a really big success. And to put that in context, that's about land the size of a city as big as Oxford. So it's really tangible, the results that we're seeing from it.
It sounds amazing, and it's such a win-win, as you say, isn't it? Because you're agriculturally productive, you're running a really sound business model, and yet at the same time you're supporting nature and seeing species that were lost coming back, which is a really lovely thing to see, isn't it? I suppose to sort of finish off, it would be really interesting just to hear a little bit about what messages you would give to maybe other farmers or others in the food industry, people who are running these businesses, about the role they can play, and maybe what you're obviously very passionate about it, and for good reason. Maybe what you're most proud of, and what you would say to them if they came up to you and said, well, why should I be doing this myself?
I think, in terms of the farmers, I think farmers already know their role in this. And I think that we're already proving through programs like the Jordan's Farm Partnership that actually there is ample space for nature to thrive happily alongside highly productive crop farming. And I think, that's one of the messages for, the farmers out there. But I think they know that. I think there are some parts of the food industry that are catching up. I think one of the other messages is that we need collaboration. If we want to achieve this at scale, we actually need more people to come on this journey. And certainly, some global businesses like Unilever, are starting to talk about regenerative agriculture. And that's all very positive, because I think if we as Jordans can have the kind of results that we're proud of, 17% of land given over to wildlife, imagine if we all partnered in that way, imagine what we could achieve at scale. I think, however, there's still a lot of misunderstanding out there. It's not easy to do. It's quite difficult to create wildlife habitats on farms. It's year in, year out. It's costly, and I'm not sure that that's truly understood. So I think we as the food industry need to continue to support our farmers with viable income streams. And, that's part of the whole Jordan's Farm partnership scheme and what's in it for the farming community. And then I think, as we all know, there are very big challenges, linked to the decarbonisation of agriculture, the removal of nitrogen-based fertilizers. And I think we need to prioritise, more research related to that. But I guess, the big message and what I'm proud of is that if we commit to programs like this, and we commit to targets, and we put together the right partners in collaboration, as we have done in this case, we can really make a difference farm by farm. And I think that's what the Jordan's Farm Partnership is doing. We are making a difference at a local level with tailored plans farm by farm. And if we can all commit to do that, if we can look at where we're all making the biggest impact in terms of our environmental footprints across the food industry, and sort of set targets, make action plans and commit to it, then I think we can have impact at scale on, reducing our environmental footprint, but also increasing our positive impact on the nature around us. And I think that's our role as Jordans in this, is convening those right partners, where you can actually have a real impact at an individual farm and site level because of the knowledge of the partners that we're bringing in. And the proof is in the results. And yeah, I'm proud of that. And you know what? I'm proud of our farmers. I'm proud of our farmers who do the hard work day in, day out, and who are really passionate, as I say, about the philosophy of farming and nature working in harmony together.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience and all of your knowledge with us as well. It's a really fascinating example. And let's hope we can see more of it happening around the country in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for all your help, by the way. The partnership wouldn't be what it is without the Wildlife Trusts. So who are playing a really, really massive part. So thank you so much.